So we're going to talk about the major parts of the digestion system and how it works. Okay, just the chemical digestion, really. So, okay, yes, I want the highlighter, go away. Okay. One big thing to understand the difference between is digestion and metabolism. A lot of people kind of call them the same kind of thing. They're not. Digestion is the actual breakdown of the food and the absorption of the nutrients. So it takes a big molecule like a fat, breaks it down to fatty acids. That's digestion. Then metabolism is when you take those little breakdowns that you made, like glucose, and you make energy from it. So metabolism is basically cellular respiration. Digestion is breaking it down to prepare for metabolism. Right. So digestion, chemical and mechanical digestion, starts in the mouth when you start eating. So really the chemical digestion starts when you taste or smell food and you start salivating, drooling, basically. In your saliva is an enzyme called amylase, and it starts breaking down carbohydrates, starts breaking those bonds, doing hydrolysis. Not all the way, but it starts breaking down the starches. Okay, and then as far as the mechanical digestion goes, the teeth start grinding up the food, chewing it, so it gets into smaller bits. Then after the mouth, we go into the esophagus, which is this tube right here. It connects the mouth to the stomach. This word right here, peristalsis, that is the movement of the smooth muscles in your digestive tract, the churning of it that pushes down that food mass called a bolus down your esophagus and into your down your esophagus into your stomach. So we get to your stomach. One very important thing is look at the stomach right here. This is it, what I've just highlighted. When you pat your belly and you say, I'm hungry, my stomach is growling, that's not really your stomach. What that area is, as you can see right here, is your intestines. Your stomach is up here underneath of your ribs. All that does is stores the food, and the food starts breaking down there. Okay, chemical digestion again, because the stomach, as you know, has a lot of acid in it, and it starts breaking the food down there with the stomach acids. Okay. Now we get to the small intestine. That's really where most of the chemical digestion happens. It's called the small intestine because it's more narrow, has a smaller radius than the large intestine. Okay, but it's actually longer, which you'll see in the next slide. It's made up of these three parts: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. You don't have to memorize that, but if you ever hear those words, we're talking about the small intestine. Okay, this is where the majority of the chemical digestion and nutrient absorption takes place in your body, in the small intestine. Okay, the small intestine, well, here we can look at the difference between the small and the large. So all of this stuff right here is your small intestine. This is your large. So as you can see, even though it's called the small intestine, it's much longer. The liver and the pancreas work with the small intestine to help digest food. So the liver functions by producing something called bile. And your liver's right here. So your stomach, let's get a better little pin. The stomach is here, and then your liver is up here on the opposite side. Your liver, among a lot of other important functions, produces bile, and that liver is stored in the gallbladder right here, this little green guy. The bile is then emptied into the small intestine, and it right here, you see the bile duct go down and it enters into the small intestine. That helps break down lipids. Okay, the pancreas is this leafy looking thing behind the stomach right here, this yellowish looking thing. It also secretes enzymes into the small intestine, a lot of different enzymes, and it helps break down starches, proteins, and fats. okay, depending on the enzyme. Okay, another cool thing about the pancreas is that it secretes sodium bicarbonate, which is actually a base. So where the stomach is really acidic, when we go into the small intestine, the pancreas releases a base to neutralize that stomach acid. So it's not so acidic anymore when we get to the small intestine. Okay. Oh, right, the gallbladder, it's a green thing where the bile is stored. That's where you have gallstones. If you've ever heard of people having gallstones, some of the bile in there, the minerals in the bile end up turning into these hard little like pebble like things, and that's very painful. Okay, again, most of the absorption of nutrients happens in the small intestine. Still talking about the small intestine here. The reason why most of it happens is because of these villi or villi, whichever you prefer. They are things to increase the surface area of the inside of the small intestine. So if you look right here, this little box is showing the wall of the small intestine zoomed in. So you've got the small intestine like this, and it has all these little villi like this. And that way you have a huge amount of surface area where all the nutrients can be absorbed instead of just this flat line like this. And we see that a lot in our body, like in our brain and in the mitochondria. Okay. Okay. After the small intestine, the what's called the bolus, the little food mass, goes to the large intestine. At this point, all the chemical digestion is finished. There's no digestion that happens here. C does not participate. Okay. The main point of the large intestine is removing water. So all during this path in the stomach, the small intestine, there's been water. And the large intestine helps in bringing that water out, putting it into your bloodstream, and that way, or I guess a breakdown of the large intestine, if it doesn't work very well, you end up with diarrhea because too much water was left in your digestive tract and was not absorbed by back into your bloodstream. Okay, so the big thing, your large intestine is also sometimes called your colon, but the big thing you need to know is that it helps in removing water, reabsorbing water, if you will. So this is just a little chart about where you see right here up on the top, there's all the 4 macromolecules and where the chemical digestion of these macromolecules occurs. You see the only one that's happening in your mouth is the carbohydrates with the amylase. Proteins start in the stomach, but everything else happens in the small intestine. Okay, so that's basically it. You might want to pause and look at this chart for a while. Look at the bio and the lipase, the protease, okay, all that kind of stuff. But that's basically all you need to know about the chemical digestion. Okay, turn this off.